everyone. Good evening, everyone. And now I feel a little pressure after hearing everyone speak. I'm really happy to be here. And I'm really happy to look at the faces of everyone, especially finding out today that these are the people who have contributed to where I am today. This speech is dedicated to my grandmother. She's a woman who first taught me that the simplest way that if you want a different outcome, you must be willing to do things differently. Let me talk a bit about myself and give you a background of where I come from so you can better understand where I am today and where I'm going. I grew up in Ghana, in a home where life was not always easy, but it was rich with discipline, culture, and expectations. Those expectations are still there. And I had family around me, routines that shaped me, and a grandmother who believed strongly in preparing a girl for life, especially in the kitchen. And one of my clearest memories of my grandmother was with making the palm fruit soup. Now, I don't know if many of us here know anything about the palm fruit, but I'll explain. You boil it, you pound it, you separate the pulp. It's a long, repetitive process that requires a lot of patience. And I never had any of that when I was growing up. I was a very impatient young girl. And the main tool for all this process was a hollow wooden mortar. If you load it too much, it spills. So you have to put just the right amount for it to work. And I did not have the patience for that. And so, stubborn as I was, I will always overload that mortar. And I would always waste at least a quarter of the palm fruit that was meant for soup. My grandmother would patiently watch me, teach me, correct me, but I would never listen because all I wanted to do was to go play football or ride my bicycle with my cousins. One day she ran out of the patience that I never had. She gave me a big knock on my head and said, "Are you foolish?" I said, "Why would you say that to me?" She says, "You keep doing the same thing and expecting different results." That moment stayed with me because in that small kitchen as a stubborn little girl, I learned a lesson that would follow me across continents. Years later, life was pretty much not very eventful until in 2009 when I lost my father and I lost my grandma also. Their passing was very difficult for me and it was very, very hard to cope with things. And as a result, my family thought for me to get into a competition, which I did, and it gave me the opportunity to come to Canada for the very first time in 2010. I went through the program and I went back home. The expectations grew even bigger because this was a girl who had won a national competition and everybody was looking forward to what she has become today. When I returned to Ghana, I went to school, but I dropped out because it was something I was not very passionate about. I later found my passion in journalism and then further did a master's in development communication. However, things changed. I got my dream job. I worked in a very prestigious organization, which normally people would see at the end of their career. But that was my first job. I had a job as head of communications on a project in the UN. That did not go too good because it ended really shortly and the dream was very short-lived. In 2025, there was a need for me to move to Canada. And that was when things became really, really difficult. Sorry, I went a little unscripted, so I arrived in Canada very confident. After all, I had a master's degree. I worked with a prestigious organization, and I thought I was what you would call hot cake. Very ready for the market, very ready for the job market. But Canada humbled me in a way I never imagined would. It started with every job opportunity getting turned down. Every rejection chipped away that confidence that I had so much worked on to get. It did something to me that I never imagined I would have. And I started to fall into some depression. I would stay in my room for years, I said years because it did feel like that. But I would spend hours in my room and not come out. My housemates hadn't seen me for days because I was too ashamed to admit that I had failed. The most humbling thing was when I applied for a position, no offense to the job, no offense to that work, but the most difficult thing for me was when I applied for a position as a cleaner and I got turned down. I was told I did not qualify to be a cleaner. I knew something had to change somewhere, but I didn't know how to start. I didn't know where to start from. Then a friend introduced me to the Veahavta program. It was the way she said it. She said, hey, I'm going to introduce you to a training program. I'll send you the link. They're giving out laptops. Do you want to join? It never gets old, I promise. She says, they're giving out laptops. Do you want to join? And I was like, well, I could use the laptop to apply for jobs, so yes. But something happened. I joined the information session and I heard about everything that Veahavta does. And something in me shifted because I knew this was a place I needed to be. This was a program I needed to join. I chose to join the Veahavta Skills Academy. Something that piqued my interest was the fact that I was told that they offer employment services too. I was like, okay, that could help. So I joined the Veahavta Skills Academy, and honestly, I joined at a time where I felt lost. I was confused. I was very disappointed in the Canadian system. Joining the program, I remember the first day in class, we were supposed to have our laptops, our cameras on, and Jillian will call you at any time, anytime. So you had to actively participate. The intention, confession, the intention was to keep the program on and just go about my activities. But I fast realized I could not do that. I needed to be involved. And that was my turning point. Getting involved made me realize something. I was accepted. I wasn't judged. I wasn't told you're not enough. I heard things like you are enough. You can do this. And it even made me feel better when I was asked, what are your goals? That question kept me thinking deeply, because now I knew that they were not just going to leave me after the program, they were going to follow through. And I knew that I had something to look up to, I had something I needed to look forward to, and I had something to fight for, because the goals came out from my own mouth, and I needed to fight for those goals. So my trajectory changed. I stopped feeling depressed. I really looked forward to that 8 a.m. email to know what topic we were treating at 9. I looked forward to seeing Jillian say, "Hello, everybody." I looked forward to that bright, beautiful smile and the morning huddles and everything. It went on for 12 good weeks, and after 12 weeks, a new fear was activated. Now that the training is over, what am I going to do with the time that I allocated for the training? Well, guess what? I started looking for jobs. Again, I was scared, I was skeptical, but I had a new hope. I knew I had somewhere to go, I had someone to talk to, and I had a place where I could ask all the questions that I needed. All I needed was to ask. And in less than 5 minutes, 10 minutes max, I had a response. I just want to take a moment to say thank you to everybody my response team, Ryan, Jade, Jillian, Aisha, everyone who made it possible for me to build that confidence, because you gave me something that I would otherwise not have gotten anywhere else but here in this space. And I'm really grateful for that. I was going to talk about change and say so much about change, but hearing everything else has just also changed the way this presentation has gone. But if you would permit me and you would give me a few seconds, I can say this, that we're all on a journey. We're all going somewhere. God knows where we're going. And we all need a community. We cannot do it alone. My grandma has an adage. She says that when you're drawing a line, you can never tell how straight it is. You need someone to stand behind and tell you whether the line you're drawing is straight or not. Veahavta is that community that has told me that where I'm going, the line I'm drawing is going somewhere. And I have that hope that I will get where I'm going. Today I have a job. I no longer depend on social assistance. Yeah. And it has all been thanks to the community here. I feel so proud standing here, looking at everybody and getting the opportunity to say thank you. My journey is not over. It's not done. But I do know that if I need to know whether that line is straight or not, I can always turn to Veahavta and I will get the answer I need. Thank you.